sport, is it all worth the effort? That's the topic for debate in tonight's Anglia Live.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to another, what a good audience we've got tonight, another edition of Anglia Live. Well, you can't have failed to have noticed that the Olympics are almost upon us. In fact, the opening ceremony starts in just a few hours' time. Now, watching all those supremely fit athletes may get you thinking about the state of your own body. So tonight, we're looking at fitness.
And if the thought of exercise appalls you, what do you feel about the prospect of hour after hour of Olympic coverage on TV? Is there simply too much sport on television, or merely the wrong sort?
But if you do decide to embark on a television-watching marathon, we'll be showing you how you can keep fit at the same time.
Well, we're starting off tonight with a sport which you won't see in the Olympics yet, although there's a strong lobby to include it in time for the Games in 1996. You will, however, be able to see it in Yarmouth tomorrow, when the Eastern Counties Bodybuilding Championships get underway. And one of its star attractions, Philip Brown, is here to show us what's in store. Oh, Philip, I hate to interrupt you when you look as if you're enjoying yourself. Were you?
Yeah, very much so.
Is it a question of vanity, then, do you think, a bit, the showing off side of it?
Yeah, I think so, because after spending so much time in the gym, it makes a change to show everyone what you've been doing.
And would you say now that you have reached the peak of fitness?
Well, I've took 8 weeks now to prepare for a show, which is tomorrow. So if I'm not my fittest now, I never will be.
But could you, say, run a marathon, for example?
No.
So it's a different sort of fitness, isn't it?
It's a different kind of sport altogether.
Well, Marlon Doughton is here as well. He's another star attraction at this show. Marlon, show us your stuff.
My stuff?
Now,
come down and see that tomorrow.
Now, Marlon, tell me, what provoked you into this bodybuilding lark in the first place?
Wanting to meet women. I was a very shy person as I grew up. Serious, guys, serious. And it helped to build my confidence and brought my shyness to the forefront where I could get away from that and let my personality show.
And has it worked? Does it attract women?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about we test that on our audience tonight? Which of the ladies in our audience tonight finds these chaps rather attractive?
Don't be shy.
Yeah, come on, don't be shy. Well, that's not too good. Well,
Come on, they're being shy.
I think maybe they are being a bit shy. Nina, what do you think of them?
Well, I hate to destroy Marlon's confidence, but I'm sorry, I find it a terrible turn-off. I'm really sorry, but in a way, I find it, the whole thing has gone obsessional, and it's obscene to me in a way, because it's just not attractive. I'm awfully sorry. I mean, to paraphrase something that Clive James once said, I mean, your arms, they look like, you know, a condom filled with walnuts. I'm sorry, but that's... I'm sorry, Marlon, I can't, I'm apologising because you're a lot bigger, but I mean...
Well, Nina, let's have a comment back from Marlon on that, I think.
I can't agree with that statement because she's only one. I don't worry about one in a million. So,
So you're not too bothered about that. Philip, what about you? What have you got to say to that?
I tend to agree with Malcolm here.
So you're quite happy anyway, and you're obviously very successful, and I think that you both look pretty terrific, I have to say.
That's why.
Yeah, close up, I think you look pretty good. They're too far away, I think that's the problem. But tell me, Lizzie Webb, is this what we should all be aiming for? Is this the sort of thing we should all be aiming for?
No, I mean, to them, I think fitness is really a way of life. For me, it's a part of my life. That, to me, I agree with Nina, is obsessional. They must go to the gym at least 4 or 5 times a week to work out to look like that. I wouldn't like a body like a lot of the female bodybuilders that we see.
OK, Lizzie, we'll be hearing more about that later, but for the time being, Malcolm.
Yes, if you thought that bodybuilding was just for big butch homies, well, just take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, Judith Whitehead. Now, I have to say, I hate to stop you because I was really enjoying that. But now you are in a different class of bodybuilding to the men. Now, what's the difference?
I'm in the figure class, and there's the physique.
Right. Now there are women that go in for more extreme forms than you.
That's right.
They sort of try and look like men. Now, I can tell you don't look like a man. I'm quick to notice these things. Do you think you are the peak of fitness? I mean, do you think that your body is the ideal that women ought to be striving for?
I think so. I mean, there's muscle everywhere. There's muscle in your body.
I've noticed that,
and
yes.
You don't have to go to the extremes to look like a man. But, I mean, women can still look feminine as well and do bodybuilding. I mean, as you see, that is just a little bit of defined muscle.
Right. Now, you won a title this month, didn't you? What's your title?
That's all right, Miss Bikini Figure.
Miss Bikini
88.
Figure. Right, let's just ask the lady. Anybody, ladies here, would like to have a body like Judith here? Is this what... There's a few men saying they'd like to. Not hers, one like hers. There's no doing with you lot. Nina, I mean, do you feel the same about Judith here?
I think Judith looks great. I think when it's taken to extremes like Donna Hartley, I don't know if anybody's seen her in the papers recently. I mean, she just looks revolting. I mean, and there's all the veins standing out and great big muscles and no boobs at all. It just looks disgusting. But, I mean, Judith looks terrific, and we'd all love not to have wobbly bits. I mean, you know, when I move, you know, most of me moves in different directions all at the same time.
Now, there's a gentleman over here who said he found this very enticing, do you?
Yeah, what are you doing after the show? I think she looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and gentleman behind you?
Oh, certainly, yes. It's a bit better than him, anyway.
Right, thanks very much, Dean. Back to Lucy.
Thanks very much, Malcolm. Hang on a minute. Where are we? Yes, there. Well, if bodybuilding is taking exercise just a bit too far for you, you could always try jogging. It's probably the most common way to keep fit, but it's not always quite so straightforward as it seems. There are 1 or 2 hazards to watch out for, as our running reporter, Bob Ledwich, has been discovering.
Well, this isn't a very healthy start, filling my lungs with fumes. Let's get away from the traffic and head for the woods. But even here there are hazards. Dogs, for instance. When you're walking, they're no problem. But if you take a run at them, even harmless hounds can turn quite nasty. These two might be friendly, but I'm not hanging around to find out. It's not just the dogs you have to beware of, but the deposits they leave behind them. If you don't look down, you can slip up. Ugh, all over my nice new shoes. Getting a decent pair of shoes is vital in order to protect your legs from the constant pounding they'll get. There's very little else you need in terms of expensive equipment, but there are a few other tips for avoiding discomfort.
After a while, as well as being out of breath, you start to sweat. The perspiration can run down into your eyes and sting. So I find a sweat band really useful. On really long runs, you can develop a quite nasty condition called jogger's nipple. Now, not a lot of people know about this, but it's caused by the constant rubbing of your vest on some very sensitive parts of the anatomy. And the answer to this problem is to smear some Vaseline on before you go out running. Just a little on each side will protect you throughout the run. Right, I'm all set. Let's get off again. Well, I think that's enough jogging for one day. I could do with building up a few more muscles. What I need is a good session in the gym.
Fitness coach Chris Roberts supervised the session and really put me to the test on the parallel bars.
5, 6, and I think that'll do there.
I wasn't the only one trying to maximize my muscles. Graham Everest started training, or rather straining here, 6 months ago. He says working out in the gym has transformed him.
It's increased my physique, and that's still coming along. But the thing which has perhaps made me the most is the mental aspect, the mental attitude. If I'd have been told that I was going to feel like this mentally, I wouldn't have believed it. It's a little bit difficult to describe to somebody, but it's an overall mental attitude which comes through, which helps you in the motivation as well. But you feel brighter, a little bit crisper, but more self-confidence even.
So I set about taking the weight off my mind and putting it onto my muscles. But how long would it be before all this made a difference to my physique?
Well, nothing's going to happen rapidly. Nothing's going to happen literally overnight. But if you came in 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, after 2 weeks, you're going to notice a significant difference.
Yeah, but how long a session would I have to do?
About an hour.
It's been a heck of a day. I think I need to go off for a lie down. This is more like it. Somebody else doing the work for once.
You too can have a body like his if you're not very careful. Well, that's where we have to take a short break. In part 2, find out, well, we'll be finding out that you're never too old to keep fit. Join us in just a couple of minutes.
I begin my journey here, in here. Now I'm being transferred down there. Inside, I can travel around a network in this office. Or leave it. In fact, go anywhere I'm needed. Anywhere. Because I and the millions like me have been set free. Who am I? And this is a Toshiba portable computer.
If Sunday is beginning to feel like a dull point in the week, the Sunday Telegraph's sharp new colour section should prove something of a breakthrough.
Really interesting.
Millions of little Britons have grown up great knowing beans means hides.
B&Q take orders by phone and deliver them free. Turn into a Shell station and you'll find petrol turning into points. Points turning into free towels. Points turning into free gifts. Details in our new catalogue. Collect and select from Shell, turning petrol into presents.
Now when you come to comment, you can pick up a whole year's interest-free credit on Hoover products. You know where to come.
Welcome back. Well, now let's look at the thorny subject of age and whether you're ever too old to keep fit. Now, we've got a couple of senior citizen keep fit enthusiasts here. The Reverend Peter Disney. Now, you're a great runner, aren't you? How much do you run a week?
I run 40 miles a week, 6 miles on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, 8 miles on Wednesday and Saturday.
And what do you do when you're not doing this? I mean, it seems to fit up most of your time.
A lot of ministry. The ministry is still the most important thing to do, but I read and I garden. I like to spend a couple of hours a day in the garden.
Right. Well, now, Blanche Clayton, now, you're a great swimmer, aren't you? You're from Ipswich. What's your swimming feat?
I'm a great swimmer. I can keep going for a long time. I go about 2 or 3 times a week, and I do 100 lengths each time. About an hour.
100 lengths?
Yes.
Each time?
Yes.
It makes me feel tired just listening to you.
You get into a rhythm, and it's there.
It's there?
Yes.
Now, now, you won't mind me asking your ages.
I'm 67.
You're 67. And
I'm 75.
You're 75. It makes you feel, oh dear, it makes you feel feeble, doesn't it? Lizzie, I mean, do you get many people who contact you at TVAM who are doing those kind of feats at that sort of age?
Yes, I've got a lot of older viewers. There's one lady, she gets out of bed at 6 o'clock. She's 85 and she joins in the 10 to 7 slot every single morning. She gets out of bed at 6 o'clock so she can shake out and she's ready to join in. That's a great example.
Fantastic, isn't it? Now, why did you take this up? Because you took it up later in life, didn't you?
I took it up when I retired. It's a retirement activity at age 65.
So it was something new to you. Now, would you advocate people who are retired actually doing this?
I would, but first of all, they must get okayed by their doctor. Secondly, because I sometimes have people come age 40, 50 asking me about it. They get too fat and want to do something about it. Secondly, I tell them, you must learn to recognize and obey the signals of the body, and secondly, you must never increase your distance more than 10% a week.
Are you listening to all this? Right. Now, do you think you feel better from doing all this?
Oh, yes, 100% better. You feel really good.
What about you, Blanche?
Oh, yes, I do a lot of keep fit too, 3 times a week.
Right. We've got any other senior citizen Keep Fit fans here? I think we've got 1 or 2 here, yes. Now, why are you so keen on keeping your bodies in trim?
No, it's just an enjoyable pastime.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good.
I think it makes you feel good and look good.
It makes you feel good. Now, Lizzie, are we a fit nation, or are we a bunch of flabbies who really just got a conscience?
Oh, I think we're getting fitter all the time. If you take us back 10 years ago, there wasn't such an awareness of fitness and the variety of fitness. We've got swimmers, we've got boxers, we've got all different types of fitness here. I think, what are you? And
Skippers?
Skipping's great, especially for the heart.
Where's our skippers? Yes? Oh, you're a club, are you? On some sort of outing? You're a skipping tour of Norfolk, are you?
No, we're a skipping class from Thorpe St Andrews in Norwich. We come every other Friday.
Do you?
For 2 hours, yeah.
You're looking quite well on it.
Yes, thank you very much. I feel quite well.
Yes, what do you do?
I think you're never too young to start Keep Fit, actually. I think if you get used to it while you're young, then as you get older, it does more for you because you're used to it and you can work yourself more.
It's amazing. I don't understand, Malcolm, why people find fitness such a chore. You've got one body, it's up to you to look after it and to enjoy using it.
Frank Boff, you've presided over television sport for a long time. Do people think that TV presenters of sport ought to be fit?
No, they didn't. Of course they didn't. I asked Lizzie Webb, when she keeps on saying we have all sorts of fitnesses here, she keeps on looking at me.
Oh, no, Frank, you'll have to join in
well,
later.
I'm a classic case, you see, of someone who started their life being very, very fit. When I was a young man, when I was in my salad days, it was coming out of my ears. I was very fit, I played sport. And then, like many people here, I suspect, I went to seed. And I've now reached the stage, I'm 55, where exercise would seriously damage my health. And I'm looking now for a way out. And like the Reverend gentleman over there, it might be a good time to kind of, you know, reshape my body. I've just stopped smoking, which is the first thing I've got to do, and surely the first thing anybody's got to do before they start...
Lizzie, Frank's a bit worried. Would you like to take control of his body and
I certainly would.
mould it?
Will you be my guest one morning and come on TV?
You can take control of my body.
Nina Myskow, I mean, are you a Keep Fit fan? I mean, you're not too keen on the muscly men, but I mean, are you keen on keeping fit yourself?
I mean, I may not look it, but I am reasonably fit. I mean, all my life I've been a complete slob. I mean, the most exercise I do is, you know, lie in a darkened room with a cold compress and preferably somebody athletic. And then I hit 40, and it's quite a galling thought because you suddenly realise you're older than Sam Fox's bust measurement, and every year the hips increase an inch along with the age, and so I started at home. Bunging, I'm sorry, Lizzie, the Jane Fonda workout video.
Oh, yes.
And I did the beginner's workout, 35 minutes. And I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And I've persevered, and now 18 months on, I do the advanced 55 minutes, 5 mornings a week. And I need to do it because I love to eat, I love to drink, I love to leap around the disco till 4 in the morning with juniors. And, you know, I want to be able to do that. To, you know, get myself absolutely wrecked, get up and do it again. That's the whole point, is to be fit to enjoy yourself.
Lizzie, I don't think she's got quite the Olympic spirit here. She just wants to sort of get fit so she can abuse her body the rest of the time.
Absolutely.
Right, you do just stay young that way. As I said earlier, you've got one body, enjoy looking after it, and then you'll live to a good old age. And look at these people here. I mean, they're looking wonderful.
I didn't start until I retired from work.
Really?
I didn't start any of this until I retired.
So you advocate it for anybody. Let me just do a quick little sample here now. I think you're fairly enthusiastic about what you do. We know you're a runner and you're a swimmer. Anybody else do anything to keep fit particularly? What about you, sir? What do you do?
Well, I'm a boxing official, so...
Oh, that sounds very taxing. Yes.
Taxing is over, really.
Anybody else do anything to keep... Yes, what do you do?
Water polo.
Water polo? Yes, yes.
Synchronised swimming.
Synchronised swimming. Well, there we are. There's a whole raft of things that people are doing, different things, ideas that people have got for keeping fit, but pretty normal. But Lucy's got some news of something which is altogether more exotic.
Yes, that's right, Malcolm. A very unlikely way of keeping fit. All the way from Norfolk, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Mysteries of the East. Well, that really is a very unlikely way of keeping fit. What on earth made you take up belly dancing in the first place?
Well, I went to a workshop and it attracted me so much. I was absolutely hooked after that and have been doing it ever since.
Does it keep you fit? You sound a bit out of puff there.
A little bit.
Does it keep you fit?
It does keep you fit, yes, because it uses all parts of the body that you don't use in other sort of forms of exercise or dance.
Well, Mia, you actually run a class in Norwich for belly dancers, don't you? What sort of people turn up?
Oh, I get all sorts of people. I get old people, young people, any age. Most of them come because they want a form of exercise which isn't too strenuous. But it's also a form of dance, so it's very creative and it's very emotionally satisfying. It's not just a physical way of exercise.
Well, what do the families think when you go home and say, oh, I've just decided to take up belly dance? What's the sort of reaction at home?
Oh, they all collapse with laughter. They all roll about the floor and they can't really believe you're going to do it. And then they tolerate you.
And what happened in your case then at home?
Oh, well, I think they were quite used to the fact that I'm slightly eccentric anyway.
And what about you? What sort of reaction did you get from your family and friends?
Well, at first I think they were very surprised, and now they sort of really enjoy it, come along and watch us, and some even join in with the band.
What about the boyfriend? What does he think?
Well, he was a bit worried at the start, but now he's really into it, so...
Great, so he comes along to watch you a lot?
Oh, yeah.
OK, well, anyone in the audience fancy taking up belly dancing to keep fit? Not too sure about that, Mia. I don't think you're going to get many more pupils from our audience here tonight, but it's certainly one of the most unlikely, but it was a very erotic performance from you tonight. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Malcolm.
Well, thank you. Well done. Yes, give them a round of applause. It's the first for Anglia Wobbly Vision, that was, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you can't face the thought of any kind of exercise yourself, you can always watch others doing it on television. Now, a glance at the front covers of the TV and Radio Times will give you a clue as to what the TV chiefs think is the mega television event of the next few weeks. Yes, you guessed it, no prizes, it's the Olympics.
The 24th Olympiad starts tonight, live on Channel 4, with the opening ceremony, heralding the most prestigious sporting event in the world. And you need not miss a moment. Each day, ITV will review and preview the highlights, and every night, Channel 4 will bring you 10 hours live from Seoul. Be part of a winning team when the 1988 Summer Olympics start at 11:15 tonight, continuing round the clock on ITV and Channel 4.
And that's just Channel 4. No matter how hard you try, there is no escape from it. There'll be Olympics coverage on ITV, BBC One and BBC Two. And hardly will the Olympic flame have been lit and the familiar cry will go up, oh, not sport again. Well, that's what we want to debate this evening. Is there simply too much sport on TV, or, as some claim, simply not enough? Now, let me just ask for a show of hands here from our audience. I know people have got their own pet likes and dislikes, but if you think there is too much of any kind of sport on television, put your hand up if you think there's too much sport. Yes, there's quite a body of discontent over here. Now let's go to our group over here. Why do you think there's too much sport on television?
Because I detest it. I hate sport. All of it.
Yes? You'll pardon me for saying so. You don't look sort of most sort of athletic kind of gentleman. Is this some sort of...
I have my own form of exercise.
We won't go into that.
Well, I can actually tell you on television.
Oh, you can?
When I'm driving on my car at 80 miles an hour and a 30-mile limit, I open up the window and scream at women drivers to get in my way. Exercise the lungs. That's about all I do.
I see. And all sport produces a sort of hostile reaction from you, does it?
It does, absolutely. I detest it.
Yeah, now you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I think that the way they put sport on television pushes the various other programmes out of the way. I mean, for example, children's programmes, there's no thought about the usual programme that the people will be watching. For example, try telling my 7-year-old that she's got to watch tennis, for example.
Hang on a second.
Frank Boff, come on.
I mean, that is absolute cobblers. I'm looking at Monday's Radio Times, right? You say there are no children's programmes. In fact, if you don't want to watch the Olympic Games, you just fulfil your normal function of going to bed at night and going to sleep, and you'll miss most of it. But here on Monday, at 4 o'clock there's Bertha, at 4:15 there's Rupert, at 4:20 Defenders of the Earth, at 4:40 Beat the Teacher, 4:55 News Round, 5:05 Blue Peter, 5:35 Neighbours, there's a whole 2 hours of children's programmes. I mean, if you're going to criticise the amount of sport on television, sir, do your homework. All the kids' programmes are there still.
You can come back, sir. Yes, come back.
Frank, what's on Sunday? Would you like to tell me what's
Well,
on
there are no
Sunday?
children's. There are no children's programmes normally on a Sunday, are there?
Yes,
No, the children's programmes are intact Monday to Friday throughout the week, as normal.
Okay, Stuart Jarrold.
Well, I'm sorry, you said you couldn't watch your children's programmes.
He's very good. Stuart Jarrold from Anglia's sports department.
We haven't done any surveys, but I happen to look like Frank at the TV Times this week, which shows ITV and Channel 4. There was 1 hour of sport in 24 hours on Monday night. There was 2 hours and 5 minutes in 24 hours the whole of Wednesday. And there was 1 hour and 10 minutes on Thursday. This is the pre-Olympic week.
It's also not compulsory. You don't have to watch it.
Right.
Yeah, gentleman there wants to come back. Yes, go on.
Can I have permission to strangle him? Is that live television?
No, not Frank. He's a guest, but Stuart, yes.
Have a separate channel. Have a separate channel.
Is he responsible?
For sport.
Well, he works in the Anglian sports
over a
department.
month, you get poxy bowls, you get football, you get cricket, you get tennis. It goes on for week after week.
Have a separate channel.
If he's responsible, I'll kill him.
Why don't we have a separate channel for children's programmes? Why don't we have a separate channel for news programmes?
Separate channel for sport.
Well, why don't people complain about...
All the other channels have got no sport on at all.
Hang on a second.
So I don't have to see it ever again.
Why don't you complain about the number of news bulletins on the programme?
It's a good point. Lady at the back wants to come in. Yeah.
If Stuart's in charge of Anglia sport, how about having some localised sport, like the Norwich Cycle Speedway, the young ladies here who play football? We very rarely get any attention on local sport.
We'll come on to the type of sport that should be covered in a moment. We will explore that, but on the general subject of too much sport. Gentlemen there.
I don't know about too much, but I think that last week the Olympics were held in Grimsby, which started in Lowestoft for the mentally handicapped, and we had no coverage whatsoever from BBC, and we had 2.5 minutes from Yorkshire Television. And BBC took much greater interest in the Danebury Pie being built than 800 mentally handicapped athletes. And I don't think they do cover games or sports for either mentally or physically handicapped anywhere near enough.
Right, thank you. Gentleman there, yeah.
I don't know whether sport is on this Sunday. I haven't looked at the TV or radio.
Is it on this Sunday? Where have you been?
I've been in bed.
That's when it's on, when you're in bed.
But I don't agree with sport on a Sunday. I think that's bad. I think it's wrong.
You think it's bad? Okay. Right, Nina Myskow, I mean, you were a television critic. Were you ever bored out of your mind by too much sport on television?
Bored rigid. I mean, and particularly during the World Cup. I mean, something like the World Cup, when there just really wasn't a viable alternative. And the trouble is that television executives are by and large men, and they seem to be sports mad. I don't mind. I don't want to prevent people watching sport. I just want us to have a viable alternative. I remember the last World Cup, as a viable alternative, the BBC started showing a season of John Wayne movies. I mean, that's what we really like to see. But the awful thing...
There is a viable alternative throughout the whole of these Olympic Games. You've only got to look at the television papers, and all the other programmes are still there. 8 p.m. Sorry, 8:30 No Frills, Panorama's still there, Miami Vice is still there,
no, Frank,
Wogan
that's
is still there.
not because the BBC are thinking of the viable... That's happens to be because Korea is the other side of the world.
Well.
And because of the time difference, you can believe it. If they could show it live at 8 o'clock at night, they would, and we'd have nothing else.
Well, look, let's go to the...
Look at the schedules.
Let's get a word from the boss. Now, the head of ITV Sport is Greg DYKE, as controller of programmes at London Weekend Television. Now, our reporter Bob Ledwidge asked him today how he thought we could tackle overkill on television coverage at the really big sports events.
I think, in truth, what should happen is that the BBC and ITV should get together, and one of them takes one of the big events and the other one takes the other. Now, ITV has been willing to do that for years and the BBC hasn't. But that's what should happen. It is ridiculous, both in terms of coverage, but also in terms of money. I mean, it is ridiculous, both BBC and ITV spending £6 million on the Olympics.
If you can manage it for the early evening highlight slot on the Olympics to actually sort of stagger your broadcast, why can't you manage to get an agreement at other times?
What about, well, we would like an agreement. We would like to save the money. We would like to spend it elsewhere. Therefore, we would quite happy to have an agreement. The BBC wouldn't. As they will no doubt tell you, the reason they wouldn't is most of the times that we go head-to-head with the BBC on sport, they win. Therefore, they're saying, why should we do it? I think in the end they'll have to do it because I don't think they'll have enough money to cover it at the scale at which it's covered now.
Setting aside these special events like the Olympics, a lot of viewers think there's already too much sport on an average week on television. On an average week on ITV and Channel 4, for example, over 25 hours. Do you agree with that?
I certainly think there's too much sport on ITV, yes. I think we have got ourselves into sports contracts and sports coverage that we then found it increasingly difficult to schedule.
Well, there we are, the view from the horse's mouth, from the man at the top of ITV Sport who says we should share it out. The BBC do the big events one year, ITV the next. Frank Boff, why not?
Well, he destroys his own argument by saying exactly why the BBC has always refused to share. Nobody in a competitive situation gives up an audience. And if you cover the cup final on both channels, the audience is in favour of the BBC 3 or 4 to 1. Now, nobody in their right mind in the BBC is going to give up that audience and share it, because the viewers traditionally, when sport is on or the big occasion is on, switch to BBC television. I mean, he destroys his own argument at the end of his comment.
Right, yes, who is television for? Who is television for? You're saying in a competitive situation, surely it's the viewers that are losing out.
Well, in that
surely
case, then, by his argument, ITV should stop televising sport, because
Fine,
most
I wish
people
somebody
want to watch it on
Stuart
BBC.
Jarrold.
Well, then why do ITV get so many viewers for the cup final? Because they sell a lot of advertising, and we only exist by selling advertising. And I also think we ought to point out, Malcolm, the World Cup is only once every 4 years.
Oh, come on, there's always something, Stuart. Come on, be fair.
Yes, but their major
Boring
events are not on all the
snooker,
time.
bowls.
And as far as we're concerned on Anglia, the lady over there said if I'm in charge of sport, I wish that I was, because then I would please most of the people most of the time, which is what we try and do.
Of
the
course
people who
we
make
do.
these decisions are almost asleep in bed, but they're
They're
watching,
watching, I'm sure. There's a gentleman here who wants to come in.
Well, I take Stuart's point, but I mean, the fact that you've got competition between BBC and ITV has got to be good for sport. I'm a sports viewer, and, you know, I think that improves the coverage of sport generally. I think, you know, that's what it's all about. You've got to improve the quality of the sport on television. Channel 4 are leading the way in televising of sport at the moment. American football, fantastic. That's the way it's got to go. You can't just have isolated ITV gets one and BBC gets the other. No way.
Okay, thank you. Lady there, yeah.
Why can't you have a separate channel to make everyone happy, just for sport?
So like a sort of leper colony, that's the sort of thing. Yes.
But Malcolm, that will be coming. Sure. When satellite comes in a few years' time, and all these other cable channels, there will be selection, and people can have as much sport as they want almost all the time.
Right.
That's when the minorities.
There's some hands going up over here. One of our lady belly dancers, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago there was sport on every side in the afternoon. There was either cricket, bowls, snooker or horse racing, and that was your choice for that afternoon.
Not much of a choice as far as you're concerned. Too much sport altogether from your...
Yeah.
Right, yeah, anybody... There's another hands going up over here, yeah.
Well, the sport sometimes in itself's okay, but it's when they sit around for half an hour or an hour afterwards saying, well, what did you think about that, Greavesy? And they sit and discuss it. And they get in half an hour early to sit and discuss what they're about to see, although they don't know.
You were looking at Mr. Boff when you said that. I noticed that. Frank, this lady's concerned about too much chat.
Well, people chat about sport all the time. They discuss the match. When the match is over, they want to digest the match.
Men do.
Well, indeed, but I mean, it's only part of the coverage.
Yeah, okay, yeah, some more hands going up over there. Let's whiz back over here, yeah.
I think there's too much tennis, I do.
Too much tennis?
Yeah, I get sick of going.
Okay, all right. So is this the man who's going to get rid of Wimbledon, eh? Would you'd stop the coverage of Wimbledon?
One of the institutions.
Tennis is the one.
If you stopped Wimbledon, there would be a revolution.
Okay, now, look, we've started to talk about some of the different types of sport. Now, this brings us on to the next point. What's the official ITV view on what sports are actually covered on television? Now, we heard from ITV's planning chief that there are major changes afoot. Here's what he said.
As from January the 1st, we will no longer have wrestling, we will no longer have darts, we will no longer have gymnastics, well, that might go to Channel 4. We will no longer have bowls. So there's 4 sports that are coming off.
That's going to antagonise, already has antagonised a lot of sports fans. How have you handled that criticism?
I think it's antagonised... I don't think there's too many people who watch all of those 4 sports. I think that's what you...
All right, let's take the wrestling fans, for example.
Oh,
they're very upset.
Well, yeah, the wrestling fans are upset.
Why have you taken wrestling off?
We took it off because we decided it had been there a long time. It's not really a sport, it's a piece of entertainment. The ratings were gradually going down. The audience was getting very old. Basically, it was a sport that was popular in the 50s and has become less and less popular. But those who still watch it, I would agree with you, are extremely upset. And the hate
millions of them.
From the size of the hate mail, yes, there are a lot of them.
What about bowls? Did you really say that watching bowls was like watching the grass grow?
I did say it, but it was a joke. It alienated my father, who's a very keen bowls fan. But in all honesty, bowls on television isn't the most exciting of sports.
So in the short term, what are you going to replace the wrestling, bowls, gymnastics and so on?
We won't replace it with sport. In the short term, we'll replace it with other programming, often movies and things like that. What we will do is concentrate on a number of sports, and the sports we're going to concentrate on in the next few years are boxing, football, athletics, snooker, and ice skating.
Well, there we are. That's the picture of ITV Sport for the next few years. Does that upset anybody? And that kind of coverage? Yeah, some hands going up here. Why are you upset about the sports we're concentrating on?
I don't think we get enough minority sports on. I'd like to see gymnastics. I'd like to see, I believe they do mountain climbing, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sports that you wouldn't normally see on television. Just a little bit, but enough to keep people happy.
Yes, sir?
Yes, the same point of view, really.
Minority sports.
Minority sports.
Anything
yeah.
particularly in mind?
Well, I'm an archer. I do archery occasionally, and I enjoy that. And last week we had the National Archery Championships held at Worlingham, near Beccles, and we had about 2 minutes coverage on ITV and no coverage at all on BBC.
Well, at least you got some coverage on ITV. Frank Boff, what about this? You must have this all the time. People say minority sports need a better cut.
The thing is that the trouble is, it's not just a question of sport versus the rest. Within sport, if you're in a group of people, and having done sports for so long, he says, why do we have to have the racing? Why do we have to go over so early and stay so long? And the other bloke says, I like the racing. I like a sort of gamble in the afternoon. I can't stand the football. And his mate says, but I love the football. It's national sport. And his mate says, well, you know, do you not know that coarse fishing is the fastest growing sport in this country? So everybody has a lobby for the sport. I mean, in the BBC's case, the BBC has a kind of public service broadcasting element in its charter, and it covers actually every year about 50 or 55 sports. Obviously some to a greater degree than the others, but I think their spectrum is just about right.
Stuart, from ITV's point of view?
Well, from Anglia's point of view, not that I necessarily agree with the ITV governor, Greg Dyke, but we have covered...
Where are you working next week, Stuart?
Any jobs on offer? We've covered over 100 sports on Anglia within the last year. Everything you can name. A lot of the sports people here have mentioned tonight, we very often cover a lot more than the regional BBC. We have a regional magazine programme. Almost every night of the week we cover some sport or other, including bodybuilding, including women's bodybuilding. A lot of the people you've seen here tonight have been featured on Anglia in the last year.
OK,
Nina? They've all just been saying there isn't much sport on television. Now you're telling us how much there is. I mean, make your mind up. It's ridiculous. You can't have it both ways.
What about the question of women's sport? Now, a lot of these sports that are shown are male-dominated sport. Anybody feel that there ought to be more women's sport on television? Yeah, there's a group of ladies nodding here. What would you like to see?
Well, personally, I play women's football, and I would like to see more women's football on television. Given the men's abysmal performance in the European Cup recently, I mean, you only have to look to the women's England side and how successful they are, and I wonder how many people realise that Norwich has 2 women England footballers living sort of within the city.
Right, yes.
Yes. I mean, England are now in the situation where they need to win on Sunday at Blackburn in an international game to reach the finals of the UEFA Women's International Tournament, and it's not been mentioned. I mean, how many people wouldn't realise this?
OK, Nina, would you like to see more women's sport?
Certainly not. I mean, I had enough of revolting hockey at school. Do I want it now? Certainly not. It's disgusting. And I find it deeply depressing, women's football. I mean, I thought women mostly had the sense not to be like men and need to herd together to play teams and go, here we go, here we go, here we go. I mean, the sport that women, I think, like to watch are sort of gladiatorial things, one-on-one, or one person competing against themselves. That's why I like tennis. I like watching tennis. Well, actually, I like watching tennis because of the men's legs.
It's nice. Yeah, but it's nice to get you're all together and you're fighting for the same aim. It's a team spirit, and I think it should exist more.
There's
far too many people.
Do I take it there's some disagreement over there about whether we should cover more?
Just a bit, Frank. I mean, you're an old male chauvinist yourself, aren't you, when it comes to sport?
No. We don't distinguish between male sport and women's sport. If it's popular, it's on the box.
The way that you portray those sports are very different, though. The way those sports are portrayed men's sport is very much more serious. Women's sport has very much a novelty value.
Well, that's how men treat women. But that's how men treat women. And that's how men like Frank treat women.
You would hardly say that
about Wimbledon,
you would hardly say that of Wimbledon. You would hardly say that of eventing, three-day eventing at all. It's taken very seriously indeed.
Right, Frank, do you think there's any chance for getting more women's sport on television, or is it going to be still male-dominated?
Well, in the end, it's what people want to watch that matters, allied in the BBC's case with a sense of duty that they should put some things on. I mean, after all, snooker was invented by the BBC, show jumping was invented by the BBC, and that's become, they've become two immensely popular sports. That is true.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Well, now, let's move on. And despite the fact that many people play sport for the good of their health, getting fit can be positively dangerous. As our resident sports fans has found out, will you please welcome Bill Zorn and John Benz.
I checked into a health farm to try and put myself right. I noticed straight away that my wallet really felt right. The pain began by the second day and never really went away. The next day I got wobbly knees. When I woke up I was wearing these. And I was only trying to get fit. Only trying to get fit. Could have been anyone you see, so how come it's always me? When I die I wanna be the fittest body in the cemetery, only trying to get fit. I went to California where the surfers all convened to compare Bermuda shorts and be part of the scene. I rode the waves to loud applause when at last I reached the shores. Before I got my gear off, a frisbee took my ear off. I was only trying to get fit, only trying to get fit. Could have been anyone you see, so how come it's always me? When I die I wanna be the fittest body in the cemetery, only trying to get fit. I bought a set of dumbbells to add to my home gym. I had to ask 3 neighbors to help me move them in. I followed the instructions and all the things they tell you. I'm stronger than my bathroom floor. I ended up in the cellar. Ouch! I was only trying to get fit. Only trying to get fit. Could have been anyone you see, so how come it's always me? When I die I wanna be the fittest body in the cemetery, only trying to get fit. I thought I'd try a trendy game to get me fit and posh, but it didn't take me too long to get injured playing squash. The ball hit my neck, that's right, looked just like a big love bite, so my wife squashed my face, shoved my racket in a delicate place. Ow! And I was only trying to get fit, only trying to get fit. Could have been anyone you see, so how come it's always me? When I die I wanna be the fittest body in the cemetery, only trying to get fit, only trying to get fit.